saw with Fergie on Oprah as well, that actually
Yeah.
it is a soft option.
Yeah.
It is interesting though, because there are a lot of figures being thrown around about how much she could probably generate if she did agree to a real,
Sarah Ferguson may be standing at the absolute edge of a major life shift, staring down a reality that reportedly brought her remarkably close to a total breakdown. For decades, the Duchess of York has existed in a bizarre, gilded limbo, splitting her time between secretive European wellness clinics, high-end retreats in the United Arab Emirates, and the heavily guarded confines of Royal Lodge in Windsor. But the whispers behind the palace gates have suddenly changed, suggesting that the luxury shield is cracking and a desperate, low-profile retreat is already underway. Welcome to Crown Aura, where we dissect the intricate chessboard of royal drama piece by piece. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on a sequence of events that could fundamentally reshape the York family dynamic forever. If you want to understand how the monarchy truly operates behind closed doors, you will not want to miss what comes next. The latest intelligence from royal circles paints a startling new picture. The Duchess is reportedly touring modest, one-bedroom rental properties near Virginia Water, just on the outskirts of the Crown Estate. This is not a temporary stopgap or a fleeting vacation arrangement. It is being framed as a permanent, drastic downsizing. For a woman used to sprawling estates and international luxury, the idea of retreating to a rented flat signals a profound, almost jarring shift in status. But this sudden relocation is far more than a simple change of address. It is a calculated, high-stakes maneuver born out of sheer survival, dropping hints of a much deeper crisis brewing behind the scenes. One that involves hidden finances, a quiet fury over her family's survival, and a secret benefactor whose patience may have finally run out. To truly understand why a duchess would suddenly scale down her entire existence, you have to understand the sheer weight of what she has survived. At 66 years old, Sarah Ferguson has just emerged from some of the most harrowing personal battles of her life. She has spoken with brutal honesty about her treatments for breast cancer, only to be hit shortly after with a terrifying skin cancer diagnosis. These consecutive health crises naturally pulled her away from the public eye, forcing her to seek refuge in highly exclusive, intensely private medical clinics abroad. For a long stretch, she vanished into a world of high-tech detoxes and elite isolation, leaving the public to wonder if she would ever truly return to the chaotic arena of royal life. But as her health stabilized, the silence didn't last. The quiet life, it seems, is something Sarah Ferguson simply cannot sustain. Inside sources reveal a fascinating, complex psychological truth. Fergie would genuinely rather scale down her entire physical life to a single rental property than vanish from the public eye entirely. She is a figure hardwired for the spotlight, cycling through decades of best-selling books, television appearances, and high-profile charity initiatives, always refusing to be completely erased. Yet, a return to the center of public life in London means stepping directly back into the line of fire. Royal commentators are already warning that the media landscape has drastically changed since her last major public push. No British broadcaster worth their salt is going to give her an easy ride this time around. If she steps back into the media circuit, she will be forced to face the most uncomfortable, deeply invasive questions about her past, her choices, and her loyalties. It is a lesson she should have memorized from the catastrophic fallout of Prince Andrew's infamous Newsnight appearance. A warning that echoes through the family to this day. Never answer the question if you think you might end up lying. And that is where the narrative takes an even darker, more complicated turn. For decades, the public has been utterly fascinated by her deeply unconventional, post-divorce relationship with Prince Andrew. Despite legally ending their marriage in 1996, they continued to share a home, co-parent their children, and defend each other with a fierce, almost inexplicable loyalty. Sarah has consistently called Andrew her closest friend, anchoring herself to his world even as his public standing completely collapsed. But that fierce loyalty has come at an astronomical cost. The shadow of Andrew's scandals has hovered over her every move, dragging her back into historical controversies she has spent years trying to outrun. Critics still point to past disasters, like the infamous sting where she reportedly attempted to sell access to her ex-husband for £500,000, an incident she later dismissed by claiming she was simply inebriated and didn't know what she was doing. To this day, many royal watchers note that she has never truly owned up to the gravity of those past missteps, frequently relying on friends and unnamed associates to smooth over the cracks.
About how much she could probably generate if she did agree to a real,
Sarah Ferguson may be standing at the edge of a major life shift. Media reports suggest the Duchess of York is weighing a permanent return to London after years of splitting her time between the UK and destinations abroad. If accurate, this could open an entirely new chapter for one of the royal family's most closely watched figures. For a long stretch, Sarah's living arrangements have kept observers guessing. She's continued to spend time at Royal Lodge in Windsor, but reports have also placed her in Switzerland, Austria, and the United Arab Emirates, often with little public detail about where she was staying or for how long. That air of mystery has only deepened public curiosity. Welcome to Crown Aura, where we break down royal drama piece by piece. You won't want to miss what comes next. Subscribe and stick around for the latest twists, big claims, and constant royal updates. An insider cited by Cosmopolitan reportedly says Sarah has been touring modest one-bedroom flats in London and may be seriously weighing the capital as her main home. According to that account, this isn't framed as a brief stay or stopgap arrangement. The source suggests she wants to be nearer the center of public life, somewhere she can stay engaged and reconnect with a city she knows intimately.
Then she goes back into the real world and the opposite happens. So she's always been very fond of attending these very expensive clinics. But I think on this occasion, she
reportedly came close to a breakdown. One quote attributed to an insider has drawn particular attention: the suggestion that Fergie would rather scale down her life than vanish from view entirely. If that captures her mindset, it suggests someone willing to live more modestly while still staying connected to public life rather than retreating from it. That would track with Sarah Ferguson's long, often erratic history with the spotlight. Across the decades, she's cycled in and out of public attention, stretches full of TV appearances, best-selling books, charity initiatives, documentaries, interviews, and speaking engagements, followed by quieter periods where she seemed to step back almost entirely. Royal commentators suggest this reported
The king's brother is terrified right now because he knows the history of what happens when a senior royal member gets arrested, especially when it comes to dudes who think they're above the law. Meet King Charles I, the only reigning monarch who was arrested, tried, and executed by his own government. This man ruled thinking he was totally untouchable and only answered to God, until he was arrested, just like Andrew. Charles I was given a fair trial by his government before they executed him, but his crimes didn't involve children. But what Charles did that got him was he dissolved his parliament multiple times. He also continued to raise taxes without anyone's consent. For 11 years, this man continued to piss off the regular people, his fellow royals, and his politicians, until finally they arrested him. His arrest shattered the notion that powerful men, even kings, were untouchable, permanently altering the power dynamic men of power at the very top had over regular citizens. His fall from grace and ultimate execution proved that he was just a man. Even powerful men should face justice for their crimes.
Why are they still at Royal Lodge? Why has the king not kicked them out of Royal Lodge? That is a question we get asked all the time. Basically, he can't. Prince Andrew has said again and again he has a cast iron lease on Royal Lodge that he takes out from the Crown Estate. The king, therefore, he has taken away his personal allowance, his security, to try and make it harder for Prince Andrew to be able to afford to stay at Royal Lodge. Royal Lodge comes with an enormous amount of upkeep, but so far Andrew has managed to continue to afford to live there. So really there is very little that the king can do at the moment.
The king's policy at the moment is to turn off all the taps, all the spending taps, if you like, no public funded security, and I'm not going to give you the money that your mother used to give you, and try and force him out that way. But clearly he's got other sources of income and he's able to stay there and pay the rent.
As we've said before, it's like watching a TV drama in real life with all this family strife.